Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge. They don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like. Wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Thank you so much here, cause I'm nosy, for the super sticker. Thank you so much for being nosy and supporting the channel. I appreciate that. I hope you guys had a fantabulous Friday. Mine was eventful. Mine was, y'all hit that like button, okay? Hit the like. We got a lot to get into today. If you are new here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, please, please, and thank you. So on today, let me know if you guys can hear me well. If there's an issue, try to fix it in the beginning before I get into this. Because I went into federal court to cover the David E. Taylor detention hearing. So when he was in North Carolina, that's where he got arrested, and he was detained down there until Michigan extradited him. So once he was extradited, he agreed to consent until he had a hearing here in Michigan. And so because the government was requesting detention, they asked for a bond hearing. So that is what happened today. And when I say I said I'm gonna be nice. I told Dev I'm gonna try to be nice. I'm gonna try to limit some of the jokes because it's really not funny, but it's actually kind of sad and disturbing all at the same time. But there were so his detention hearing was scheduled for 1 o'clock. There were several arraignments before that, and there were like 2 or 3 other hearings. They waited till last for him. So obviously everyone knew who he was, that this was kind of a high profile, I guess, case, if you want to label it that. And so he was last. So I was there at 1 o'clock. It didn't start till 4:42 p.m. So thank you so much for the super sticker, because I'm so glad I paid $20 for parking instead of $10 for an hour, because I would have been hit. But when I get in there, I sit on the side, the left side of the court, and there's already about 10 people there. So I get there at about 12:45 because I had court in a whole nother court. I had court in state court this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I left that court, got finished there at about noon, and I was like, okay, let me head down to federal court. Go down to federal court. They already coming there. So at first, I'm not sure. Like, are these David E. Taylor supporters, or are they people that are not supporters? You know, you don't really know. Then they just started coming in like 5 at a time. They just were coming in and coming in. And then I'm on the side and I'm just scrunched up with all these David E. Taylor supporters. I was literally sitting on the edge, and I'm going to be nice, but apparently people don't have boundaries, because I was touching thigh to thigh with people because the way they were all trying to crunch in to be there to support their beloved leader. So then once that side was filled up, they go on and they're filling up the other side. And again, there were other hearings that were there. So there was people standing up in the back. And then finally, I was surprised they let them stand up as long as they did. They ended up going like in a hallway. It's kind of like a vestibule area right outside of the courtroom. So they were standing outside of the courtroom. They were standing there. So First thing I'm thinking, I didn't even hardly have elbow room to even write anything down. I was like, I'm gonna have to remember this stuff because I don't even got room to write. This is how these people got me crunched and barricaded in. And in theory, I could have just went and sat on the attorney row. But I was like, I really didn't want to sit on the attorney row because I didn't want nobody to think I was really there for a case that was mine. So I wanted to just, sit with everybody else because I was just everybody else. I was a spectator today. And so it just was it was just so many of them. They were just there. The whole They were just there. And it was just, I don't know how to explain these people though. It's not like they seem nice enough, but it was just something I couldn't put my finger on it. But they were, oh my God, hi, I haven't seen you in forever. As people were coming in there. So it was a lot of non-melanin people at first. And then some more black people started coming in towards the end. So I'm not even going to say it was 50-50, but it definitely was, maybe 70-30 with non-melanin and melanin people that came. And they were men that were there. Because in my mind, I'm like, ain't no man putting up with some of this stuff. No, it was men. It was men that were there as well. And I just got sick to my stomach. I was like, this is interesting. So then finally, after sitting there, so one of the guys, it was an older white gentleman. He comes up to me in the beginning and he's like, staring there. And he's like staring at me. I look up at him like, what you looking at, bro? Do I gotta call Dev? Cause I'm already paranoid. Cause all these people in this drink. I'm like, what you looking at? And he like, do I know you? No. You know how usually you're like, I don't think so. Maybe, Are you around? You try to trick. I was like, no. There was literally no, let's think about it. Let's try to. You were there for David E. Taylor. You don't know me. Okay. You don't know me at all from the can of paint. You don't. Unless you got into some trouble or something or been in the courts and you see me at the courts. That's the only way that you would know me. Outside of that, you don't know me. So I guess maybe because I was sitting over there, maybe they thought I was one of his supporters, but they came where I was sitting at. So, and then they was everywhere. They was on both sides by the time it was all over with. So as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, the government was requesting that he be remanded in jail pending trial so that he's not out on bond. That's the same thing the government wanted from Michelle Brannon. As you guys know, she ended up being placed on bond. And so David E. Taylor was hoping for the same fate on today. But it didn't quite work out for him. Not today, it didn't. So let's get into some of the notes. So these are probably the worst notes I have ever taken in my life because, first of all, I was crunched in and I felt like I was a sardine. Secondly, I was there for I had been up since super early and had already been to court, so I was tired. And then I just couldn't believe what was happening around me. I had so many different emotions going on. It was kind of triggering because it was like, I started thinking back over my life. I was like, were you ever in church and just this naive? Like, I just really started pondering and rethinking my entire church career, like my whole church life. I really was. Thank you so much, Queen Brio, for the super chat. Abraham said, I'm here for these wolves in sheep clothing, being held accountable. Folks are going through too much to be preyed on. Oh, you haven't heard it. You have not heard anything yet, but you will in a minute. Thank you so much for the super chat. Gotta love Jones. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Y'all hit that like button. Hit the like button because today was very interesting. So, anyways, let me get into. So, of course, the government gets up and he don't need to go nowhere, Judge. He doesn't need to go anywhere. So, she starts out how she talks about him pretty much when she discusses him in her memos on how he is and how he purports himself to be a general. And he's raising up an army. And that he has armor bearers, but they're really servants. So they started out swinging. So before all of this happened, one of the marshals came up and was like, listen, when you guys see David E. Taylor, do not make comments. I know you want to say hi. You cannot talk to him. You cannot do any of that. So that was the first thing. When the judge gets on the bench, he says, listen, I don't know him, but I guess he must have heard he must be somebody. So I'm gonna need y'all to chill, because we usually, the courtroom usually is not that crowded. That's pretty much what the judge said. Was like, it's pretty crowded in here, and it's usually not this crowded. So we don't want you speaking. Hey, don't do none of that. Okay, you can't do that in here. Then, before the government comes out, let me go. David E. Taylor comes out. He looked just like that picture on my thumbnail. I thought maybe he looked different in person. He looked just like that. He looks like he need a little bit of sun. I told Deb I'm gonna be nice. He looked like he need a little bit of sun. And that he's been doing more praying than he has been fasting. If you picking up what I'm putting down. That's how he looked. Deb said, how would you describe him? I said, round. I said, I'm going to be nice, though. He's round. So anyway. Yes, cute Lady D. He did have the orange jumpsuit. Yes, he did have the orange. That was his wardrobe for today's appearance. It was orange. Okay. So let's go on. So he starts out with a presumption of detention, obviously, because, the court says, you guys know the bail reform by now, that there's a presumption under certain statutes that you should have detention. Typically, you have a presumption not to have detention, but Congress created a statute of which under certain statutes that you are accused of, then there is a presumption of detention, and then they have to try to overcome the detention. So the government said this is a very unusual case. This man calls himself, he's a self-proclaimed general. He's very unusual. In 11 years in 4 states, he's terrorized and traumatized people through violence and sleep deprivation, not allowing them to have medical care and treatment. Witnesses will testify that they were assaulted, including at least one minor that they've just talked to. Said that it was 10 members within that in the church, which would be including David E. Taylor and Michelle Brannon, who literally assaulted people. So apparently they're alleging there were 10 people. Again, he is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But yeah, that they said that these individuals were deprived of food, sleep, medical care, and they were forced to do these call centers. So then you guys remember the text messages where he would say, get out. If they don't want to get out, throw water on them. They went over all of those text messages again. So I'm going to spare you. Go over to my David E. Taylor, archive if you guys want to go see those text messages. But yeah, she read those text messages. She started out reading those text messages. The armor bearer, she explained, of course, like I said before, the armor bearers are basically his servants. And while they're explaining all of this stuff, here's all the people in the courtroom like, it was a guy behind me. I said, wow, these people really drinking the Kool-Aid. Wow, this is really interesting. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So then the government says, and there were even more disturbing allegations. There's an ongoing investigation on women that are alleging that he would coerce them or use coercion to have them send nude photos and videos. Now, someone in my chat under the video was telling me about Vicky Yohe. Her name always comes up. But they were saying that that was part of why she allegedly came out, is because he said he threatened to release some photos of her. So I don't know if she's part of this conversation, but there are women allegedly that are saying that he requested these photos and video of them masturbating. And they had to do it on these make these sex tapes. And he demanded that they obey his request for these tapes. So this is allegedly supposed to be an ongoing investigation of some new information. So I don't know if they kept saying this is an ongoing investigation. So I don't know if they plan on superseding this indictment. I don't know what they plan on doing, but they said it a few times. This is ongoing. Tracy said he couldn't ask me for a picture of my big toes. You don't think he's hot, Tracy? No. That picture of that hair thingy doesn't turn you on? The government said that he's so dangerous, it's insidious. Like, that's how she described it. Forced labor, there's a presumption of detention. Basically he can't, it's almost like, well, it's not almost like he's one in the same of the organization. Like, there's no conditions they're saying that they could come with to try to protect the public from danger and to ensure that he won't be a flight risk. And he has no employment outside of this organization, which is what he's in jail for right now, what he's indicted for. So that is his only employment. He has, according to the government, no significant family ties, which I think is interesting. Apparently, he does have a son, and I think his son might have been there. If not, that boy looked just like him, whoever was in there. And the son is supposed to be like some part of the ministry. But other than that, he does not, you don't hear anything about family at all. Most of the stuff with him you hear about is the church member. So he's kind of, I guess, created his own community. I'm trying to be politically correct here with this church. So that's where most of his, So then the government said, well, he doesn't have a criminal history, because he doesn't have a criminal history. But apparently there were text messages where he told people in the text messages he's an admitted gangster when he was a teenager. And they said the reason why he doesn't have a criminal record is because he's been engaged in this criminal enterprise for a long time. So allegedly, he's like 53, I think, and he's alleging he's been pastoring since he was like for 40 years. So that means you were doing that as a teenager. And then they talked about he also had numerous financial resources. And the numerous financial resources, aside from what they put in the pleading, apparently, since when they did their motion for detention earlier this week, it was like 2-3 days ago, I think they did it. They found that he allegedly has some bank card that has 7,000, and then he has some online bank account that wasn't reported to pretrial services allegedly for 134,000 and some odd change. So they were like, he got funds as well, and his funds will continue to grow because they said people in this courtroom, even right now, are still trying to solicit funds on his behalf. And then they said, talking about, we're in war. It's time for you guys to suit up, warriors. So the government said, even people sitting around here, they the ones getting this man money. So that's where his money is still going to come from, what we here doing, what we indicting him for. So then they also said that his actual, I can't remember how she worded it, but she basically made it seem like he was just a freak, like he can't control, almost like he can't control himself. He didn't, she didn't say it like that. She said it very professionally, but I'm just saying it how I took it, and was like, it's very disturbing. That's another reason why he is an apparent danger, because women remain fearful that he's going to distribute their materials. So apparently there are women out here that then gave him some little freaky deaky photos or videos, and they think that he might still use that to kind of blackmail them, because there are some people that are obviously going to, he had a lot of people there, but obviously there's people that are testifying against him. And a couple of people that have told me that they went to the FBI and they talked to the FBI allegedly. And then they said that there were people outside. She said, as I'm standing here right now, there are people outside of the courtroom protesting about him being here that are upset. So it really is crazy. This is what the dilemma was. And I'm going to tell y'all before we get to the defense, because the defense was very interesting as well. A lot of this we kind of heard before what the government said with Michelle Brannon. But what is interesting is the same positive attributes for David E. Taylor would be the same reasons why you wouldn't let him out. And you'll see what I'm saying. Like, the supporters there and what you're being accused of, and you still got 75, 80 people or however people came to support you, you're kind of proving the point that these people are just blindly following you, and we got this alleged evidence and it's still not deterring them. So the government is almost like they're victims even if they don't know they're victims. Like, these people are victimized and they too dumb to even know they ain't call them dumb, but they don't know that they're even being victimized. So it's like the government is trying to protect everybody, even the ones that don't even know they need protection. So then the government says apparently when they were carrying out the raids, I think it was in Tampa, they have some victim services out in Tampa who comes to the house, and they were alleging that on August 27th, there was a one of his armor bearers or somebody. She said he was in the courtroom. She said my man's that was in the courtroom was there, and she said he was trying to talk to the victims and tell them not to get help. So apparently there's some victim services that came to the house, and they were like offering them food and clothing and just assistance, because they're saying you guys were in here and were the victim of forced labor. And he came and got all of them, I guess, to change their mind or try to persuade all of them, and nobody left type deal. So he talked to them allegedly, and then they decided to stay. He's like supposed to be number 3 in the organization. And he convinced them not to leave and convinced them not to get any help. And they was like, he in the courtroom. I wanted to be like, can you point him out, please? Who is he? Then the government said they recently received information of women that are concerned about him being released. Um, so there are people that are actually scared of him, and so they were like his reign of terror, sexual exploitations, violence, obstruction, that he's a danger to society is what they said. Then they went on to pretrial services, and they said pretrial services recommended a bunch of address. So pretrial services actually recommended that he gets a bond. Pretrial services recommended a bond, with felt like there were conditions to ensure that he would not be a danger and that he would come back to court. And they pointed out with pretrial services that he just was not honest. They said that he alleged that he was living in St. Louis. That's where his permanent address was, but he had been living in North Carolina for like 5 years. He had been living in North Carolina since the pandemic. So they was like, he lied about that, and it wasn't even nothing to really be lying on. So then they went through different people of where he said he can stay at their homes, but everybody was connected to the organization. So they named one lady, and they were like saying what position she was. Then they named the son who allegedly has a position. They just, everybody that was, it was an armor bearer. He was an armor bearer. They said he could stay at their house. They're like, all of this stuff. Like, how do you have where Michelle can't have no contact with anybody from the organization, but this man is actually staying in houses of people in the organization? Like, that's what he was requesting. And even in his bond brief that his attorney filed yesterday, I was just too tired to go live and talk about it. He was asking in that brief that he still be allowed to like be the pastor over the flock. I was like, are we in the Twilight Zone? Do you know what you're here for? Yeah, so that happened. So then they talked about how, I guess, JMMI was the name of the original church, and then it changed to this new name. So allegedly, according to the government, the reason why they changed the name is because JMMI lost its nonprofit status. So that's supposed to be one of the reasons why. So there must be other reasons, but they believe that one of the reasons was because they lost their nonprofit status. Then they talked about him not telling pretrial services all his international connections and travel that he's done. So they felt like that was not being honest with pretrial services. So essentially, pretrial services recommendation was conflicting with how Michelle, who is his co-defendant, she can't be connected to anybody in the organization, but he get to go live with people in the organization. Like, it just wasn't making any sense. So the government pointed that out, that was an issue with pretrial services recommendation. And so they said, lastly, well, that's it. That's pretty much it. That was pretty much the government. They want him to stay. They didn't want him to get out on bond. So there's that. You said he trying to go to Bali. Oh, wait a minute. He he don't have a bond, that part. He's detained. But we ain't get to that yet. That man won't be out of the country if you think so. That's kind of what I think they were bringing up here. Right, Tracy. I'm like, who are you? But I was by myself, so I had to keep it cute, even though it was in my my little stomping grounds. But still got to use wisdom, y'all. So then the defendant gets up and just basically said she's just not happy with the church. He's a 53-year-old man with zero criminal history. He's been pastoring for 40 years, and his message has been the same. His goal has always been starting schools, So this is how they described. Okay, so I know we had a couple of people that were in the chat that used to go to this church, and they said they actually, at some point they might have stayed in one of these facilities, but they described it almost like a college dorm. So he's alleging that his vision is to create a school. So it's a apartment or a location that people are staying in, and they're staying in this place, and it's like them providing room and board at this place. They have food, they have shelter, they have all the things similar to like a college campus. So they have to work these phone lines because there's this overhead for the church and to cover them, almost like it was being described similar to like tuition or something. Then his attorney says, oh, we spoke with a number of witnesses that will refute most, if not all, of these claims. So they're saying they got plenty of people that's going to say these people are just this. How they described it, they being David E. Taylor's attorney, said that these are all disgruntled ex-members. Disgruntled ex-members, all of the people that are coming against him. But as you can see, there are so many more people that are for him. He said Taylor has never been in the Houston home or the Tampa address, so he's never been there. He's been in a shutaway. So he said he didn't lie to pretrial services because he was born in St. Louis. He's held an apartment in St. Louis until just recently when it got raided. And I guess maybe the landlord didn't renew the lease after that. But he's saying he considers St. Louis his permanent home, even though he's been in North Carolina, because he's been in North Carolina on a shutaway, fasting and praying and writing a book for the last 5 years. But he didn't lie. His lawyer said, I have a home in Florida or wherever he said, but I live in St. Louis and I spent a significant amount of time in West Palm Beach. But I still, when someone just asked me today, where do you live? I said, I live in St. Louis. So he's been in prayer for 5 years, y'all. Over there in North Carolina, he's been in prayer. And he says he's been conducting a lot of this stuff on Zoom. That's how he's been connecting with people on Zoom. So a lot of these people's dates he's alleging will contradict because he's been in North Carolina. So some of the stuff they're saying is going to be contradictory to the dates they're talking about because he basically been shut away, with him and his best friend Jesus for the last 5 years, fasting and praying. He's going to show up because he wants nothing more than to appear to vindicate himself and his church. He has no intent on fleeing. He has no intent on fleeing. He can't wait to have his day in court. He said that if he wanted to flee, he could have did it a long time ago. On August 29, 2022, this attorney in St. Louis who was representing him today was retained back in 2022 because apparently there was some type of financial investigation and subpoenas was served on the church for, finances, taxes. And so he knew he was under investigation. So they're saying since he knew he was under investigation and knew it since 2022, he could have said, pew, back then, and he didn't. So we should look at that as if he is not a flight risk, because he could have did it a long time ago. So then he says they haven't even really shown any evidence. The witness accounts are vague. You don't really know. There's no photos, no redacted names, nothing to support the allegations that they put in the indictment. She's taking these text messages out of context. And then the defense attorney kept saying, he said it a few times, I'm no theologian. These members that I've talked to have taught me what certain things mean. And the church just had faithful members. Faithful members. And he did everything strictly and in accordance to the Bible. Everything he did was biblical. He can show your honor the specific passages to the reason why he did everything that he did. He said armor bearers are in the Bible. Using the word generals in the Bible. He is totally guided by the Bible. He reaches 200,000 people. He has like 200,000 people following him. Located in every state. I'm sitting there thinking, like, you do know that don't really help your client, right? That's what was going through my mind when he said it. I was like, you're trying to up his importance, but upping that importance leaves you more places you can go. Don't matter if you take away your passport. It shows you got multiple locations that they might have to go send a bounty hunter to go get you if you jump bail. But nevertheless, they bragged about him allegedly having 200,000 followers. Located in every state, where his message has always been Jesus Christ. But yet and still, the government over there, they want to transmit his message of Jesus Christ and strict adherence of the Bible as a criminal enterprise because they don't understand it. This is freedom of religion. I knew that was going to come up. I said it. I was like, the only thing they can really argue or try to argue is this freedom of religion somehow. They just don't understand how this thing goes. He's a strict Bible reader and enforcer. So then he says again, this stuff is being generated by disgruntled congregants. Every church has those. Every church has disgruntled Bible people that were members. So then they bring up that 2014 case. Now that's that case with that deposition I think he was talking about. He said one of the members, she was going through a divorce and the other spouse found out that she had given a significant amount of money to the ministry. And so that spouse was pissed when they found that out. So I guess that was disgruntled. I'm like, how is that really helping your case? But you know, you get paid the big bucks, okay? You get paid the big bucks. But he brought that up. And then he said the government hasn't vetted these people. They don't know nothing about these people. They haven't vetted. And armor bearers are not servants. They're not servants. And let me go to that FBI raid. It was just, they go into the house, they handcuff people, they shift them or swip them off to the hospitals, and they talk to all of them. They didn't know what was going on. The armor bearer they're talking about, I guess, that was telling them not to go with them or get the help from the FBI, whatever this organization is that helps them out, or department is that will help the victims, alleged victims. He didn't know what was going on. He actually called me because he knew that I was David E. Taylor's lawyer. So he came and called me because he didn't know what was happening. So he said they were handcuffed and they go there and they took their phones and wouldn't let them go back to the Tampa home, but they just didn't know what was going on. And then they say it's a lot of bias in this case. Those people went and they decided on their own volition they wanted to go back when all of that was done because they're choosing to have him as their spiritual leader. There are thousands of people who love David E. Taylor because they're looking for spiritual guidance. And that's what freedom of religion is. He is who they choose for their religious advising. And they got that right under the First Amendment. That's what they said. It's their freedom. They had the opportunity to stay, but they all chose to return back when they could, because they want him to give them spiritual guidance. And so that's why they chose to come back. These people are free willed. They have access to cars, access to medical care. He said this is just a gross misunderstanding of what is going on in this church. These allegations of forced labor, no food, that's just not true. And there's going to be dozens and dozens of people that are going to testify to that. Did they fast? No, we're talking about the starving part. Did they fast? Yes, but it was controlled. That's biblication. Fasting is Bible. And they weren't living on top of each other in these apartments. The Tampa house had 12 bathrooms, and they was in there. All of them. Yep, he telling the truth. Yep. It was something, like I said, people behind me, they was actually talking. Like you could hear them vocally, like, say stuff. So, and given this, he said they're not sleeping on floors and air mattresses. They have a bed. That person, Gwen, they that's not true. They slept on the bed. They didn't have to sleep on an air mattress. And we can't wait to expose these people on cross-examination. Oh, and let me tell you about these call centers. I pretty much talked about that already. So he basically said churches don't run themselves. They have overhead, and they're taking in missionaries and students and pupils, and they're providing education. Room and board, upkeep is provided. It equates to a college education. But it's not just care and donations. They're trained. They're trained even on the cause. They said they're trained to pray for people. So when people call them and they say they want prayer, they've been trained how to pray and to listen to people. And they have people that called that are suicidal, and they're there to talk them through whatever they are going through. So it is not being honest to say that they just call people to try to ask for donations. They listen. They've been trained to listen out to all these people's problems first. They don't just say, would you like to donate? They say, what would you like? You guys know, because I called the prayer line. What would you like us to pray for? I'm like, but that makes it look like you take money from vulnerable people. I just was listening to what he was saying, and I was just I seen how the government could just go on that. But he was like, I'm like, so when these people call and they're suicidal, and then when you get finished, you ask for donations? When they say they need prayer for their health, then you ask for a donation? When they say they're on the brink of divorce, then you ask for a donation. Does that sound better to y'all? I'm missing something. That sounds like asking for money, in my opinion, when people are at their most vulnerable states. So I don't see how that was beneficial. But hey. Then he said, also they have Bible studies and all of that at the house. Did people get rebuked? Absolutely, people got rebuked because some were lazy. You weren't going to come into these facilities and not do what you're there for, and that's to be trained. So if you were there thinking you just getting free room and board without working for it, you not getting free room and board. So they basically said these people was being lazy, and that's why they got rebuked in the name of Jesus. Okay. They took them on trips all around the world so that they could spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. So they had a big outreach. He said when they got the outreach program for human trafficking. They got the outreach program. Apparently, they had some vans when they had the hurricane over there in Texas. They have a whole board of directors. So it's organized correctly. And they mentioned he has a lawyer, Mike King. And so this is not a sham organization. This is the real organization where the Bible is strictly interpreted. Now, I want y'all to put a pin in that. Brother Counsel said the Bible is strictly interpreted at this church. And then proceeds to let us know that those naked pictures, those nude videos, nothing was coerced. It was all consensual. I said, well, are we strictly by the Bible? Is that not what we spoke? These were single people. He was a single man. It's hard for him to date because of who he is. And this is how he chose who to date or something. It was something weird at the end. I'm like, chose what? He's a single man, so it's difficult. And so he didn't deny these pictures and videos. He said that everything with these women he had consensual relationships with. So my question was, are we strictly in the Bible or not? They said it's nothing illegal about that. Are we strictly in the Bible, or are we just strictly in the Bible when it comes to things that benefit you? Making you the master, making people have to work for you, making people have to get money so you can drive nice cars and live in nice homes, so you can eat crab legs, which look like you ain't missed not that crab leg. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do no more digs. But I just had to get that out. You look like when I seen them, what was it? Was it crab leg? It was something that it was thousands of dollars worth. And he really looked like that I believe in that indictment that he ate that food because he just, that was it. Short and I guess Q Lady D said, well, David had all them wives. Okay. He ain't say he had a wife. They said he was single. You not hearing what I'm saying, Q Lady D? He was single, and there's nothing illegal about it. He's a single man. It's hard for him to date. Okay. Listen closely, cute lady. I need you to focus. I'm tired, you tired, we all tired. I just got home from a long day. So then, it was the big thing of the threat of damnation. He told everyone, even the lady that came on, she was like, he would tell you going to hell if you left and all of that. So then he says, the threat of damnation is nothing new. That's about in every religion. Almost every religion sends you to hell. So, The threat of damnation is nothing new. That's in every religion. So what he told these people they're going to hell. We strict to the Bible. You're going to hell. Except for, him and his consensual alleged relationships. That's it. So then the attorney said, frankly, this case scares me. This case scares me. This man has been in the church his whole life. So then the attorney kind of goes into, I guess, maybe some type of conditions that will satisfy him coming back and satisfy him not being a danger. And his lawyer was like, well, he can stay away from the victims. Well, I don't even know who the victims are. Well, I can't even say who the victims are because we don't even know who they are. And then his congregation started laughing in the gallery. They started giggling, and the judge was like, that's not funny. And I said it with her. Like, while they're laughing, I think me and the judge at the same time was like, that's not funny. And that's when I think they looked at me like, oh, she ain't one of us. I think that's when they realized that I'm not one of them. Because we both was like, I'm like, what y'all laughing at? I mean, they were just co-signing everything this man had to say. And then they laughed, and it was just so inappropriate because he's like, we don't know who the victims are. Almost like they're not really victims or something. That's kind of like how it came across, just real snidey and trying to be funny. And they were laughing at it, and the judge was like, not too happy. Like, she was so cool and chill. That's the only time today out of all these hearings that I heard her look like, now you guys are doing too much in this. This is not a joke. Like what's funny about this whole situation? Yep, that's my moment, Bible lady. That's when they all knew I was not a part of the cultish kingdom. Because I was like, what? Why are y'all laughing? What was funny about that? Oh, I forgot I put Facebook on here. Hey, Facebook. Good to see you guys. That's our storefront church over there. Hey, Yvonne. I'm like, Facebook, what they doing in the chat? I must have clicked that on accident. But welcome, y'all. Hit the like button over there. Or the thumbs up, whatever's over there. I don't even go on Facebook. So then the defense attorney says, nobody questions the Pope when he has an assistant. Nobody questions Mormons when they have an assistant. Maybe if you just don't like the word armor bearer, we just call them an assistant. Then he got a little redundant, and then he finally was like, and with that, I just request that he be out on bond. Oh, he also mentioned, aside from those houses, he talked about those houses, and he said that his son found an Airbnb that he can live in by himself. It's already available, but it's only secured for a month. But if he has to be there longer, they can secure it more. And so that was what they were proposing, because again, the government's like, he's still trying to stay in members' houses. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? So then in rebuttal, the government says, so he doesn't have an address. He's not going to have any money because he can't have any money related to this church. And that's where all his money came from. Outside of the church, he don't have funds or a home. So where he's supposed to go? Like, even if he was to get he don't even got nowhere to go. Everything is connected and intertwined with this church. He's a danger. He is the leader. He's overwhelmingly coercive and terrorizing behavior. He needs to stay where he is, and that's detained. And that's when they said, whether these members know they are victims or not, they are. Well, they just don't know that they are, but they are. And she said the government is not trying to infringe on consensual adult relationships with these photos and videos and all of that. We connected that to the forced labor. They're a part of doing this labor for you for free. And then you're telling these people, you're coercing them, telling them they need to send you videos of them masturbating and pictures and inappropriate. And the thing was, like I said, it's not like the defense attorney made it seem like they didn't exist. He just twisted it like it was, he said, I ain't gonna say twisted it because I don't know, but he said it like it was consensual. But allegedly, he had some pictures of Vicky Yohe. And that's allegedly why she really came out, even though I think she said God told her she needed to expose herself. Apparently, he was going to expose her anyway. It's all alleged, though. And they said that he was grooming individuals to be like a lot of these people that we see. That's what he was doing with them pictures and them videos. So people are scared, women are scared that he is going to threaten them with these videos and pictures that he has. They don't know if they got all the videos. They don't know if they got all the pictures. So then the judge said, "Can we take a quick break? I'll be back with my decision." All rise. Everybody get up and stretch. By this time, they not looking my way no more because they already know I'm not one of them. They have determined I am not one of them, okay? Because I was done when they said they strictly adhere to the Bible, but they were okay with their leader with the videos and the masturbation of the congregants. I just like, how does that even reconcile in your mind? That's when I was utterly disturbed. I was like, so y'all hear all of this? I know they believe it's all lies. They don't believe that anybody is forced labor. They don't believe that they say they're not going without food. They say the text messages was out of context because they were fasting, that he asked about money and stuff because they have certain, I guess, teams, and that team is supposed to get stuff done, and they were being lazy. So yes, he rebukes them because all of this great life, I guess, he's providing for them in order to be up under his tutelage. But the math just was not mathing. I'm sitting here like, and they were just like, then you hear Jesus. Then it was one guy, I guess he came from Canada. He had a little Canadian little jacket on. People were in the back praying. I said, Lord have mercy. So the judge comes back and said, I have my decision. So they say, yes, he does not have no criminal history. I do say he has ties to varying communication to overcome the presumption. But on the same end, now they had to go through the prongs. So they did say he had ties to the community because he got ties to several community. She says the nature of this offense is very serious. Allegations, actually horrific. I understand it's a church, but I don't know of any churches that operate like this. It's like, I understand that this is a church, but I have some serious questions about this here church. I don't know not that church that operates like this. So then she says, well, I'm going to look at the weight of the evidence. You actually have ties to so many different places. You say you have supporters of 200,000 people. So that gives me a concern about non-appearance through the ties of your supporters. So your supporters in all these different places can help you not come to court. And that's what I was thinking when he was saying, I'm like, you do know that's not really helping you, right? So, sir, that weighs against you. One of the things that I heard about David E. Taylor is that he exaggerates some of his numbers. And so that grandizing didn't help you today. Then they go to danger to the community. The things that have been uncovered is very concerning and indicative of dangerousness, even though you don't have no criminal history. And you got supporters here. That's good. I got supporters here, but that cuts both ways. These supporters, like it's good, but it ain't good too. You're alleged to lead an organization that engaged in activity that's troubling. That speaks to the dangerousness of it. I understand your supporters disagree. They don't think so. They don't think anything is wrong with any of this. But from my vantage point, I'm concerned. And then you don't really have a real place to go. You gave an address to an Airbnb that has not been vetted by pretrial services. So you just randomly give some address today. I'm just not convinced that anything offered. I don't think it's a possible the way you've lived your life to separate you from the church. Like there's no bond condition that can really separate you from the church. Part of the issue is these supporters, they try to protect you. So their whole thing is they're trying to protect you. So I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to keep you separate and to keep the people safe. So at this point, I don't know. Then she says, and then you're minimizing you not being transparent with pretrial services. That's concerning. Like that's your time to be transparent about everything. And you decide to just not even be totally honest when it comes to pretrial services. That's a problem. I don't believe there are any conditions sufficient to ensure your appearance and you're a danger to community. So we're going to keep you in custody. They were like, but she said, I'm sure you're going to appeal. That's fine. Judge so-and-so has an availability on Tuesday. So you might want to go over there and talk to him and see about you appealing my decision. Because it was a magistrate. Your judge has got some free time over on Tuesday. If he want to let you go, that's on him, but I'm not, pretty much. So there's that. Kelly said, I think the judge is making the right decision on this. I thought it was the right decision for him, but we shall see. Abraham said them not seeing anything wrong makes him even more dangerous. Exactly. I think that's what the judge was alluding to. They all drank the Kool-Aid. I said, wow, this is interesting. You said when line on your resume goes wrong, the judge could see through the foolishness. You know what? I ain't gonna say that, but yeah, so that is what happened in court on today. David E. Taylor has been detained pending trial. However, his attorney has indicated that he is going to appeal the decision to the judge because this is a magistrate. And that I think maybe next week or the weekend, whenever he can get in, he's gonna try to get him out. So there's that. He didn't have the same, and like the judge said, I know your co-defendant was out, we gave her bond, but that's a whole different situation. I weigh things differently, just like you saw earlier, because it was a case we saw before him, and it was a young man that was like 18 years old, and he was in there for carjacking, and the carjacking was with him, his brother, and his cousin. Apparently the brother ended up having a hearing and he was not let out on bond. And so it was crazy. It was funny because the government had their PowerPoints and everything. And the attorney gets up there and he was like going through it methodically, and he was repetitive, like he was repeating himself. But he was fighting for his client, so he was repeating himself. And the judge was like, "Okay, I seen the picture," and he was like, "Hold on, judge, you didn't interrupt the government. You're not gonna. Don't interrupt me while I'm talking for my client. Like basically, I'm fighting for my client to get out. My client, this is surgical. You cannot put what you did on these other people on me, on my client, because you did that to them. They're different. My client didn't pull the trigger. He was just there. My client didn't try to hit anybody upside the head with a gun. That was the brother. And the crazy part is this young man was 18, but he was like a straight A student. He had all these certificates from the Honor Society. He had been taking college courses since he was in the 9th grade. So he had 54 credits going for electrical engineering, and somehow got caught up with a brother and a cousin on them trying to carjack somebody, of which he worked 2 jobs. So he didn't need to carjack anybody. He had just bought a new car. So the court had to obviously separate him, and the brother had different facts and circumstances. I think his brother had gotten in trouble before. This guy never been in trouble. So he went through all of that, and he got out on a $10,000 unsecured bond. Like he didn't, and then they tried to put him on tether. He was like, no. They was like, we want him to still work and go to school. So I think that gave his David E. Taylor's members some type of hope, because Michelle Brannon was out on bond and whatever. So they were hoping the same thing, but the judge viewed it in a whole different way. I guess the judge was like, they probably were like, they let a carjacker out, accused carjacker out on bond. I know our beloved leader is gonna get out. But what ended up happening is the judge used that as an example and said, like I told him, every situation is different. And in this situation, it is different. Okay. Michelle, she had a place to stay. She still had family. She got kids that ain't really associated with this church. This man, literally his whole family, there's no mention of any other family aside from his son. And his son is a member of the church. So everything is so intertwined. Your money come from the church. Your address come from the church. And then his attorney tried to recommend, all he wants to do is preach the gospel. He can have a restriction where he could upload his videos on YouTube. He could upload his videos on YouTube and just don't mention the case. We could have those type of restrictions. I'm like, have y'all read this indictment? Like everything is connected to his allegations with this church. So that is that. He got off, I didn't even stay for him to like walk away. They kind of sat there stunned. I said, let me get out of here and get to this bathroom, because we all been sitting here for 3-4 hours and we all about to be having to go to the bathroom. And so I left, and that was that. So that is the David E. Taylor. That is my experience. My intent is to follow the case, but the way it is crowded, it is they might try to do some, what do they call them, the line holders they were doing in Diddy's case. That might be what happened, unless they do a bigger courtroom. They might have to just do a bigger courtroom, because this was just an arraigning court from a magistrate. But that it was very, very, it was crowded. It was so crowded. I could not believe the people that tried to squeeze in next to me. I'm like, how rude is this? But I hung in there because I told y'all that I was going to come with the information on David E. Taylor. So that is David E. Taylor. Y'all make sure you hit the like button. Thank you all for meeting our goal. Thank you, Susan. Said thank you, sis, for the update. Love you more. Thank y'all so much for helping to reach our goal. If you guys want to give any super chats or super stickers for all of the hard work your girl has given on today, you can do so. The Cash App is there as well. Any type of donations is greatly appreciated. If not, just keep on watching the videos. Give me views. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Tell other people about the channel. I'm going to look at a couple of more questions, and then I'm going to finish eating my food, because I just ate enough so I wouldn't pass out when I told y'all what happened today. Then I left the other half in the kitchen. So Yes, please, y'all. Get these likes up now. Let me see if it's any questions. Any questions? Thank you, Shelby. You said thank you, Pam, for being squeezed in. Just they was like, oh, she's not one of us. I was like, do I need to call my husband to walk me to the car? Black Rose, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I was triggered. I said it. So everybody, if you're my member, if not, consider joining that as well. I told them that I was there, so they knew that I was there, and I told them immediately when I found out he was going to be detained. So they knew that before the live started, which is one of the perks of the membership. I try to inform them immediately, but I told them it was just triggering. Like a lot of the stuff to me was triggering because how when you're searching for that spiritual encounter, you're trying to search to figure out who you are, what your purpose is, who God is, and how you can be in vulnerable states and be taken advantage of. And that's how I feel. Like I think it's a lot of people searching. It was almost sad. And like I said, they look like good enough, like nice enough people. I'm not gonna say anybody was rude, except for like my man's behind me that was making all them noises and he was aggravating as hell. He really was. But for the most part, everybody was pretty much dignified, except for that laughing outburst that the court got on their neck about, as she should have. But other than that, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. But other than that, I just they seem nice enough. Like at first I was like, is there a dress code? Because it seemed like all the girls was coming in there and they had on these tight move something dresses. I'm like, is this on purpose? Do y'all know y'all at court? Like, it just seemed like they are. Then it was like the bigger women, most of them had on pants and shirts. So I was noticing some patterns and how some of the men were dressing, but some of the men kind of remind me of Jehovah's Witnesses, like how they dress. So I was trying to peep, just trying to get a visualization. But for the most part, they were really loving and kind to each other. They were hugging on each other. They were happy to see each other. Hadn't seen each other in a while. Things like that. Like I said, aside from them disrespecting my space and not moving, knowing you was too big to be sitting, like, come on, and not caring, which I thought was rude. That was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? And she even came like, I moved over a little bit to give you more room. So I'm not saying anything like you didn't know that you squeezed in this spot. But it was standing room only. So the men were sitting down, and then the women were, they were allowing the women to stand up, which is gentlemanlike. Some of those men stayed seated the whole time and women were standing up. But for the most part, they were offering women to sit down and then they were standing up. And again, they were there at 1:00. So them feet were burning. They were standing up for hours. So if it starts at 1, it's supposed to, we were there at 1:00. Some of these people were standing up from 1:00 to 4:45 before that man came out. Then by the time he came out, you got to deal with the arguments and then the decision. So that was a whole nother hour of a situation. So he does have supporters. He does have people that got his back. I don't understand it. It should be studied. I don't get it, but hey. And then let me say this too before we leave. Thank you so much, Deborah, for the super chat. You said, Pam, thanks for always bringing the great reporting. Thank you. Sunshine Blazing said, thanks for sitting through this and bringing us the info. I got y'all. So this is how David E. Taylor was. I'm not going to stand up and do all of my extras that I be doing, but he came in, in his jumpsuit. He says, say your name for the record. David Taylor. Bro, you be doing all this yelling on it. You need to talk as loud as you talk on these text messages with these exclamation points and all these big old caps. David Taylor. Okay. And Mr. Taylor, have you read the indictment? Yes, Your Honor. Okay. All right. And Mr. Taylor, da 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 da. Have you had time to talk to your counsel about A, B, C, D, and E? Yes, Your Honor. Okay, you can have a seat. Bro, how you up here talking like this and you yelling at people in these texts like this, allegedly, if they're real? But they didn't say they weren't real. They just said they were out of context. But all them exclamation points now. Michelle, tell them right now if they don't do A, B, C, D, and E, they're going to sleep in the garage. All that yelling you was doing, and you get on that mic and you sound like, yes, Your Honor. Oh, boy, if you don't put some bass in your voice right now. Yes, yes. Yes, Your Honor. So anyway. Yes, Your Honor. What you say? Who you talking to? So anyways, y'all, that is my David E. Taylor update. We will be following the case. And that's that. He does have his supporters. They say that this is not what it appears, that these are disgruntled members. He got several people that are going to say that these people are lying and making this stuff up. So we pretty much know what his defense is going to be. The government said, we still own you, bro. We still got investigations. And we got more. That's kind of what they were giving today. And he is detained until further notice, until appeal happens and they let him out, or no, unless if he's detained till trial, he'll probably do the speedy trial and try to hurry up and get it over with. But that's that. So any questions? Anybody have any questions before? Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the commentary. He can right now he's just doing prison ministry. Like Bishop Whitehead. I just, like I said, thinking about this, like watching this case, and then like I did with Whitehead and some of these other people, it's just like, can y'all just pick the word of God up and read it for yourself? I'm not gonna talk, like, just read it for yourself. Ask for your own revelation. This is crazy. Thank you, Vernita, for the cash app. I appreciate you. You rock. I just like pick it up. See, I got Bibles in my office. Read it for yourself. Because I'll never understand, like I said, how he's single, they're single, everything consensual. So all anything about this sex related stuff, but you a strict Bibleist. Like that's what you're saying. Like how they have strict constructionists when it comes to the Constitution. You think that the Constitution, within its 4 documents, you read it exactly how it says it is, and you don't add to it, take it away. It's not a living document of it, like it goes over time. You're saying you strictly construe and read the Bible as what it says. Then how are you even doing any of this other alleged stuff? I don't know, but we'll find out. That's just my opinion and my commentary. Thank you so much, Catherine, for the super chat. I appreciate that. I felt bad for him. I felt sorry. I had so many mixed feelings and emotions. It's like I was mad because I was like, I wanted to be like, wake up. So I was mad. Sorry if that was loud. Then I was sad because I'm like, these people might have a thirst and a longing really for a relationship with Christ, and it's been diluted and polluted. So I felt kind of sad. Then I felt kind of bad that they was believing some of this stuff. Then I wondered, like, was he always like this? Did he start out, with good intention like a lot of people do? And then it turned into this when he realized that people are willing to give up their life savings. People are willing to, the length that people are willing to go in order to support their pastor or to be faithful to their pastor. So it was just so many different emotions. And like I said, going to the church and just in general, not even just this church, how there's so many, how a lot of us were just raised up in manipulation when it comes to church. When honestly, if you read the Bible, I think if you read the Bible, you, when it comes to giving, you just get like, it's love. Like going back to tithing and all of that stuff, that, well, first of all, it was a cultural thing in Israel. Like it was a cultural thing in the biblical times, and it was wheats and grains and all that. But not even just that, that became, after the Civil War, that became something that was re-implemented, like focused on, because before that they did love offerings. Because the thing is this, everyone knows that church is not free. If you have a building, everyone knows that if you want to do things in the community, it's not free. If you want to have a warming shelter, it's not free. If you want to have people come in and cook and feed the homeless, it's not free. If you need lights, you need gas. Like, so people freely gave. But then it became a point where church became more of a business structure, and so they had to find ways biblically to get people to give. And so a lot of these offerings is one of the ways that they try to get people to give. And this is history. You ain't got to listen to what Pam had to say. And if you read it, for I give because I want to give, but I don't give when people try to be manipulative. Like ask Dev, like when we were dating, he was playing at a church. That prophet said, God has told me you need to give such and such and so and so, and that you're supposed to move here and be with him, because he was the musician. You're supposed to move here and be with him. You need to give to the prophet of God. Sir, I know God ain't spoke to you, because he would have told you how I'm about to lay you out in front of all these people. You don't gotta manipulate me. I would have gave anyway. All right, because I know that that's what you're supposed to do. I am a steward of this. This is not mine. So I know what I'm supposed to do. So you ain't got to lie to kick it, Craig. So that just be pissing me off. Now you're not getting nothing. I'd rather take this money and throw it out the window than to give it to you. Hmm? You said, or God has told me 100, you can give $100. And then try to make you feel bad, because if it's only 20 of you there and you the only one that don't give up and give $1, then you feeling bad. So it's like it forces you. But the bottom line is everybody does not have at that time. Yes, you should sow. You should, you sow good seed, you're gonna reap good seed. Just like if you sow bad seed, you're gonna reap bad seed. So, but I think if you know the principles, you're gonna do it anyway. You got Warren Buffett doesn't even profess Bible at all. I think he's agnostic. Why does he give away half of his money, and then still he got so much money he give it away and more come every time he give more away? It's the principle. The principle is always not, it's not going to come back void, period. God is not a God that he's going to lie. So the principle of it is going to come back. You ain't got to lie to me, you ain't got to manipulate, and I dang sure am not about to pay for you to have a Rolls Royce and I drive around in a Ford Focus. Or better yet, you pull up in a Benz and then I'm waiting on the corner with my bags and my heels in my bag because I'm catching a bus. It's not happening. It ain't gonna happen. God ain't never told me that you make sure somebody else live better than you. So it's like not knowing, but wanting that community, wanting that family, wanting all of this stuff, like that different internal trauma and rejection just leads you to that. And ours is so rooted from decades of slavery and everything that it's just we start from the bottom all the time. So, but anyway, so all of that was triggering. All that was going in my head, just like how I felt like we get bamboozled like that so much, and then to see another black man still do that to black people, even though it was a mixture of people, it just was triggering for me. But again, this is all alleged. We'll see what happens. Again, it's going to be he said, she said. They got text messages and different things to support their allegations. But he's alleging people are going to come up and say, this ain't even how it is. Or they'll probably try to find some information on some of these people. They left because he ain't want to be with them. They left because they wanted to be an elder, but they wouldn't let him be. It's going to be something to show why they left and why they're mad. That's probably what their defense is going to be. And it's going to be interesting. So I ain't guaranteeing that I'm going to come to all of them, but I'll probably try to go to a trial and maybe something else in between. But the fact that I know that 50,000 people about to be in that courtroom, I don't know. I'm not going to sit up here fighting for seats every day to go look at David E. Taylor. But anyway, for today, I did come and I sacrificed for you all. And thank you guys so much. See, my son said the same thing. When he seen how many people were getting ganked, he was like, Mom, Dev, I have an idea. I said, Jay, what's your idea? He said, I crafted something. It's going to be called Prayer Jordans. What do you mean prayer? You put them on and God's going to hear your prayers. That's how I'm going to sell it. I was like, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. You think people will buy it? Listen, and they might. Okay, people buying spring water, and I looked in the mailbox and I had $40,000 out of nowhere. Listen, I don't know. They might. Thank you so much, Joy, for the super chat. I appreciate that. So I hope I see Vicky Yohe too. That would be interesting. I ain't no number one Vicky fan, but I do. She was trying to blow his spot up when she got played for sure. She was out here she was sounding the alarm for whoever would hear. And I think once she knew the FBI was on it, she chilled out for a little bit. But yeah, she was on his neck for a long time. You said he better trademark it. Prayer Jordan is so close to Air Jordans. They'll probably try to have a trademark issue with that anyway. He had to do Prayer J or something. I don't know if he could do nothing with Jordan's name in it, because I'm sure that's trademarks. Felice said my stomach hurt from laughing at you. Huh? I was very tamed, Felice. I was very tamed. I told Deb, I said, let me eat a couple pieces of this chicken. Because now when I get off of here, I'm about to have Deb over here crying, laughing with some of the other stuff I'm about to say when I get off of here. But I said I'm gonna keep it cute. These are real people on both sides. Some that it appears, in my opinion, they look like they getting hoodwinked and bamboozled. And then he sat down the whole time like this. I don't even know if he looked up at anybody. He was like, United States versus David E. Taylor. That'll do it to you. That'll make you start talking about, good morning, Your Honor. Them indictments, they be doing it every time. Biting his lips. That man, I'm not doing it, Felice. You almost got me caught up. I was about to be Pam real quick. I'm not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it to me. Whew. But that hair looked just like that thumbnail. I'm gonna say that, then I'm gonna be done. The hair looked just like the thumbnail. Take that with it, what you want to take with it. It's very, very interesting. The man is interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. So sending him photos and all of that, I guess. But we praying for the people, okay? We pray that justice is served. He is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's all we got. You said, was David's friend Jesus there? If he was, he didn't come to his rescue so he wouldn't get detained. If Jesus was there, he must have stepped out when it came to the decision. Sorry. Thank you so much, Pray Then Hustle. Gas me up. Thank you so much. I appreciate the love. I'm not doing it. I'm not. Y'all know how I became. I'm not doing it. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to do better. Dev, I want to cuss you out so bad right now, but I'm not gonna do that online. I'm not gonna do it in front of strangers. If I ever get to the point in life where my only option is that man, that will be when I take the vow of celibacy. That will be when, if that's the only option I have, all my swag is gone. I am going to go into the convent or something. No. Mm-mm. After they take me off suicide watch, because I'll probably be suicidal or something. But anyway, Dev got jokes. It's really time to get off of here. You said if you leave Dev for a man doing life in prison, he not doing no life in prison. Man, can the man have a trial yet? Y'all done put the man in prison. See, y'all be cutting up. The longer we stay on here, when we do the good hour, usually it works out for us. But the longer y'all stay on here, y'all start cutting up. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm not doing this with y'all right now. We could share hairstyle and products. You are really tripping today.
You's a clown. That's what you. Why don't you call me a cardboard bishop now? Huh? You tough? Call me a cardboard bishop now.
He's not gonna call you that.
Huh? Look on Facebook Live. Call me a cardboard bishop now. You clown. That's what you are. You clown. That's what you are. Why don't you say what you say on Facebook Live, sucker?
No.
You's a clown for that. He said, I feel bad and will be praying for all of the people who are deceived by him and his lies. Yeah, y'all pray for the people for real. At the end of the day, these are real people, and they really do love this guy. Now, if I ain't pick up nothing else, and it's males and females, it ain't just a bunch of women. Churches, oftentimes they have more women than men. It's pretty even. That was there almost. It was more women than men, but there still were some men that was there. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm out of here, y'all. To see this whole chat getting out of control. Can't let y'all stay here too long. If anything goes down, we'll be back to talk about it. Thank y'all so much as always for all your support. Make sure you hit the like button. Thank you all for supporting the channel with super chats and the cash apps, and we'll be back to do it again. I did have something on Milagro Grams. I might do it over the weekend. I don't know. Depends on how things go. I got to catch up for being gone all day today. So I'll talk to y'all later.